We on and we are live, all the way live, man, all the way live. Beautiful day. It is Tuesday. It's Tuesday right now, man. It's a nice day, man. Beautiful day to be alive. I'm your boy Tuck, and this is Malik Hendrix right here. We are back
What's good, everybody?
after Malik in the house after about a 10-day hiatus, man. Life goes on, man. We got to grind. We got to do our different things, and we gotta be grown out here in these streets, man. So that's what we're doing. But welcome to Xennials Nostalgia, episode 3. We wanted to get back in here and do a little something for you guys. We brought the main man Malik back. Malik, give you the opportunity to speak a little bit first, man. A shout out to everybody. Want to talk about?
Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to give shots out. Oh, okay. I just want to give a shout out to you, Tuck, first of all. Give shots out to God first and foremost, but give shots out to you and our whole show and the whole program, and give shots out to everybody that's really supporting us. Um, and I give shots out to all the projects and stuff that we're doing, man. I think I believe and I know what we have is something special. Uh, the shots out are so important because you guys out there that's really taking the time to really listen to us as we share and try to speak the truth for you and give you the real. So want to give you everybody shots out, give shots out to Brian Bates if he's in the lab, and your man Russ, and just other people out here, and just want to say my apologies and sadness to all the people that died in Texas. That was really, really tragic. I was reading a thing where it said it was over 100 people, and there was people that were still missing. So I hope to God that the people that are still missing, they can be found and find some kind of solidarity and peaceful in their life. Because I know this was a tragic thing, and they said it was a 20-foot wave that hit that camp, so it wiped everything out. So just want to give my condolences to all the families out there, for the campers and the counselors and their families, and just hope everything can get back to how it was. I know that you can't bring people back from the dead, but I hope they'll be able to honor their memory by letting them rest in peace. And yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well said there, Malik, man. Yeah, that devastation there in Texas it's rough, man. I hate every bit of it, man. We're definitely praying for everybody involved, man. What we need to do as Americans is to everybody get together instead of all this fighting and bickering, man. Let's get together and let's make it better. Let's help each other and all that, man. So well said, Malik, man. That's what's up there. That's some real stuff. We'll be talking more about that later on because that's something that needs to be talked about. Absolutely, for sure. Shout out Brian Bates
Yeah.
is in the house. What's up, Brian? Salute you. That's the
What's up,
dude.
Brian?
That's the man behind the scenes. That's our guy. That's our guy right there. So shout out to Brian.
That's the
We
man.
got follow our dude, man. That's the man in the house right there, Brian Bates, man. Also want to shout out, man. I was doing some stats today. Stat geek alert. It is what it is. It's all good. But I was looking at the countries, the last 28 days, the top 5 countries that's been checking us out on YouTube itself, man. And I want to go down the line. And it's the beautiful thing about this is I've been to all 5 of these countries. Well, I live in one of them, the USA, my fellow countrymen and countrywomen. Y'all already know how we get down. So that's enough said there. But I'm gonna speak the other 4 real quick. Shout out to the Philippines, man. Philippines, been to the Mall of Asia. I've been to Manila. Y'all always show love, man. So shout out to the Philippines. Shout out to Australia. Been to Australia twice. The Australians are some of the realest people I know, man. Love the Australians. I've been to Cairns. I've been to Brisbane as well. Brisbane, Australia too, man. So shout out to Australia, man. Also the last 2, shout out to Great Britain. Great Britain always comes through wherever part of Great Britain you are at. I've happened to go to Scotland, and the Scots showed me much love. Showed me much love from Edinburgh to Glasgow to Helensburgh. Shout out to y'all. Got love for y'all, and shout out to our neighbors to the north, the Canadians. I've been to Canada once. Um, it's all good there, man. I was right across from Seattle, Victoria, Canada. You know who you are. Shout out to y'all. So that's what's up. And I'm that big Canadian. It's that big. Yeah. Brian is from Canada. Shout out to y'all, man. Yes,
That's
sir.
what's up.
Yes, sir,
That's
man.
what's up.
That's what it is. That's what we're talking about right here. Right here. It's in the mix right here. We got man, one of man. You can't make that up, man. That's a real deal right there. Real deal, man. So yeah, I won't keep blabbering, man. So before we get into our first topic, man, what's going on in your life, Malik? What's going on with you this? I know you've been busy, man. What's been going on with you?
Well, wanted to give one last shout out to Such a Voice. Tomorrow I got an evaluation for voiceover I'm getting into. That's one of the projects that I'm doing. Um, Trying to I'm also going to be doing starting the live show after the Such a Voiceover. And I've just been doing a lot of shorts, just trying to keep myself in the game and, trying to really get myself out there. I think shouts out to everybody that's really been supporting me with these shorts and plus with our shows. So I've just been doing a lot, trying to stay busy, man, trying to get ready for this voiceover thing and all of overtly, is going to help me get to my drone business. So I'm just excited for what we're both doing. I'm excited for what we're doing, and and it's just been working hard, trying to get piece everything together, piece all the puzzles together. Um, like my friend Eddie told me that taught me how to play chess. You got to look at the whole board and instead of half of the board, because when you look at half of the board, you're not getting the full effect of the whole board. You're only getting piece of it. Like they always say back in the day, like I remember you guys know in the 90s, G.I. Joe motto, that's half the battle. So um,
Right.
I've just been doing trying to get everything lined up, prepared, and went to the library yesterday. Shouts out to Kennesaw University for letting me use their rooms and everything and the whiteboard, because I think it's important for me when I put together projects. I have that kind of space. I mean, it started off with kids screaming and laughing and not really respecting, but if you drown it out by keep staying focused, then it'll automatically get quiet. And that's actually what it did. So those are the projects pretty much. I'm trying to do lives. I'm going to get into doing live after and keep doing shorts and getting to Such a Voiceover, trying to really get out there in the industry and, keep doing what we're doing. So it's fun and exciting. And I'm glad, and I thank God for God. I thank God for you, Tuck, because you really put a brother in the game, man. And this is just really professional. So thank you, man. And that's pretty much what I'm doing.
No doubt, no doubt. That's what's up, man. Keep doing your thing. We're proud of you. Um, I
Same
really
here.
admire
Proud of you.
I admire your hustle, man. Everybody don't have that, and there's a lot of people out there, like we've talked about before, that will try to drag you down um, when you have ideas and when you want to do greater things, man. People in our circle, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it real. There's people in the circle, man, that they don't they don't want us to do good. They don't want us to do good. They don't know we're doing this, man,
Mm-mm.
because it ain't none of their business. They don't have the same wavelength and the same thought process that we have, man. So um, yeah, that's I understand that. Keep doing what you're doing, man, and it's gonna be fruitful.
Thank you.
Fruitful, man. We all gonna eat, man. We're all gonna eat here. So that's what's up. We're coming in. That was our fire starter right there. So we're at about 10 minutes into the live. Um, I'd say that was our fire starter and our icebreaker. That was a little bit of both, I'd say. And I'm going to say we're going to start getting into our first um, topic here, first section. Um, as you guys know, our name of our show is Xennials Nostalgia. We talk about stuff that we grew up on, ways of life that we're used to. And we're going to keep it up, man, because somewhere that's going on now, that's it, our generation, our little sub generation is taking the back burner, man, and not a lot of us out here speaking, bro. So we're gonna be that voice, and we're gonna try to bring you something. But first thing we're gonna talk about today is before the internet took over. Before the internet took over, okay? I know there's a lot of people out there that's probably 30 and below. Most of my crowd ain't that. It's probably about I only got about 6% of people there between 25 and 34. So the guy don't really check me out like that. But it's all good, man. That's not my genre of people anyway. But they don't know what life was like before the internet. There was a whole another life before the internet took over, man. It's I mean, it don't seem like it, but I think there was, man. Before I start up, man, I'm gonna have some stuff. Malik, man, I'm gonna let you tap into this. I know you got something to say on it. What do you think about the internet before? Uh, what do you think about life before the internet took over? What's your thoughts on some of the things, some of the examples that you have, man?
Well, one of the examples I had, I looked up and did some research from 1900 to 1999, which was 99 years of civilization as we know it, um, in terms of the turn of the century and everything that was going on and everything that was created in the turn of the century. I think that before, to answer your question, life was it was good. It really was good. I mean, the internet, was new. It was bits by pieces. But we had to do everything manually. We had to look up phone books. We had to dial 411, and actually, I believe it was actually a little bit better before technology came in because we did things manually. It helped us really get into what we were trying to do. Like if you needed to find a place, a certain destination, we just look up in the phone book, and the phone book is almost like a map. So, when technology came, it was just the birth of technology that we were able to link up to the 90s because we were able to have little bits of computers and cell phones and beepers and pages and two ways. When that came, uh, that's when things started changing a little bit because things were dropping back to back. But before that, it was great. It was coming of age to what we were learning. But I think that learning the old school ways before that was intriguing, but it helped a lot because we didn't have to have phone books no more, look up 411. We could just go online and just search and it'll be right there. So, but it was just a lot different. It really was, the telephones were different. We had to pretty much rely on what I like to say, the 99 years method, because for 99 years in certain of the turn of the century, it kind of goes back to those questions like how was it before technology kind of came, because you remember like when computers first came out, they were only used for algorithms or finding
Yeah,
out like for spies and for from when we were going to war for Germany and Japan, so we had to break their codes.
you don't
And
need
so
that
we
kind of
we
computers. Yeah,
right, and even though we weren't around to experience that. But I feel like in 99 years, it's came so far. Technology was just over the years trying to keep up with us. And when the 90s came, when Steve Jobs really put Apple and everything in the game, it just exploded for all different types of things you could do. And I think that's what he was really trying to do, to let us know that there's other types of things we could do with computers that's just coming out. So I think it was different. It was very, very different, man. It was very different, because it was harder. But when you think about technology, we weren't thinking about, hey, let's, like we are now, let's go up on the phone to go look up something. Like we literally had to resort to the phone book, we had to resort to maps, and we had to resort to 411 and then people's knowledge. So that was a good thing, because it kept us grounded for even right now with technology. But at the same time, I think it was also what I like to say convenience, because it's so easy to type in something and everything come up, but you actually had to put in work to like, hey, I'm looking for this street, looking for this number, looking for this address. Let me scroll down. And, you had the yellow pages and the white pages. So that was pretty much our computer.
You had the,
And
and I'm gonna stop you
411.
there. I'm gonna stop you there. That was perfect. That was perfect. That's a lot that you just really got us on. That was it, man. I want to add Mr. Brian Bates just added. Life was better. I feel we have lost the art of conversation. I was gonna agree with that. Like remember when you just saw the pile of bikes on someone's lawn and you knew where the crew was? Yeah, that's true, man. We all had them bikes. We was all riding on them bikes, man. And that was, man,
Yeah.
that gives me some nostalgia right there, man. Just
Yeah.
that statement about them bikes, man. Everybody, that was your way of getting around. That was our Facebook. That was our that was it. That's how
Yep.
you find people. We didn't have little phones in our pockets to be like, hey dog, where you at? Where are you?
Nope.
No, man. You had it, man, is Johnny home? No, he's with the boys. All right. We got on our bikes and we had to go out there and look for them and find them, man. We had to find them, and
I like
that
that.
it's nuts, man. Like you said, throughout the midways of the 90s, um, technology started turning up. You had the pagers, and all that stuff. And I can remember in one of my high school classes, my freshman year in high school, I know you remember there was a guy, there was the teacher, oh man, the video teacher before Miss Krim. There was a man, Mr. I can't remember his name. Anyhow, I was in ninth grade. He used to always come back to class talking about the internet. There's crazy stuff on the internet. And at fifth, I didn't even know what the internet was. I'm like, what is that? I can remember, what does that mean? I didn't know, I didn't understand. He'd always say that though. Man, I was on the web last night. He was this is like 95, 96. He was one of the early people, but I didn't understand what he was talking about. It's like, what? Anyhow, that was the days of that. But I also want to add, I have a couple notes I want to add as well. Or give it back to yourself. I know you got a couple more talking points on that. Um, Landlines. We used landlines to pick up to call. So if you call somebody, and this goes to where Brian was talking about communication, you might have to talk to somebody's parents.
Yeah.
So and so's not home. A lot of people today don't know how to communicate they don't know
No.
how to communicate with each other. They don't know how to communicate with an elder. Talk to them any kind of way.
But now,
Go ahead, brother.
now things are so different, man, because people don't even talk on phones no more. Back then when we had to talk
Oh
on
no.
phones, like you guys were saying that, we had to find before, and Brian was right about the bikes, man. I didn't think about that. I mean, everybody had to hop on bikes to be able to have to go search for somebody. Like, it was like a Where's Waldo type thing. But now it's like technology has
Yeah.
taken away so much of our human existence. Like people don't even talk on the phones no more. Like, what is texting? If you got something to say, just say it. I never liked it, the texting, because you had, especially if you're a person that has so much that you had to say. So now I think it's kind of somewhat putting a hindering on our life, because like how many people actually really sit and eat dinner with their family instead of watching TV? Even though that was a family thing and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the course of having a family dinner is finding out every day of what's going on in everybody's lives. And I think that's the hindering of technology, because we don't have that no more. Like I remember people used to talk on the phone for hours. I remember back then, Earl, if you
Yeah.
remember when the chat line was going on, we were on that
Yep.
joints
I
for
remember.
hours. And I remember talking to girls all night on the phone, man. And,
I
but
forgot about
now,
that one. Yeah.
yeah, you remember what I'm saying? So, but now it's like it kind of taking a little bit away, because people don't like talking on the phone. Like I'm driving and I'm seeing people texting. I'm like, man, get off the phone, man. Like, come on, man.
And
If it's that important, You know what I'm saying? That you got to be on the phone. See what I have on my car. I have a outlet to where I could, a lot of the times I could talk to you on the phone through the Bluetooth. So I don't even
That's what
have
I
to
do.
pick up the phone. And then I have a phone's charger that shouts out the elder at Jason's Deli for giving me that, where I can holster my phone. Shouts out for Bento for them too, helping me install it. But it was just life was just different, man. It was just you weren't thinking about the internet. You were thinking about riding your bikes or going up to your friend's house and stuff like that, especially if they were close. And then if they weren't close, then we would pick up the phone. It's like when I always would call you from the times that we would be at home, and I'm like, "Yo, Earl, man, remember we did this?" Or and I think it took. I think with the technology, in my personal opinion, it's taken a lot from the human experience.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good for a lot of things that we need to do, but when it comes down to a bit of the human experience, it's ridiculous, man. It's really ridiculous. Even when you try to call or pay a bill or something, hey, you got to go online and do this. Like,
Talk
what
to
happened to
automation.
talking to people?
Yeah.
Automations, and then they'll tell you to call this number. And then when you call the number, it's more automations. They don't even give you the first thing you're supposed to do if you're telling somebody to call the number is they give a prompt. But see, that's how vast technology is going. It's going too fast. And,
Fast.
we're trying to keep up with it, but we never had to do this in the 90s. We were kids. All we had to do was go to school, do our homework, eat our vegetables, and be in bed at a certain decent time so we can get up and go to school. See, life was so different. It was modern. But then when technology started sneaking its way, oh, I got to get this. I got to get this Nokia. I got to get this Sprint. Oh, I got this. I'm like, why do you have to get it because somebody else get it? Let them have it. It's nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a detrimental like to have to. When I used to have to get mom, hey, somebody got this, so let's go spend this money to get this. When you spending like $400 or $500 on something instead of, even though we were kids and kids, it's always meant to parents to spend money like that, but the way they were spending money, like, okay, so a Nokia Sprint was costing $200 or $300. I didn't have $200 or $300, and my mom really didn't have $200 or $300. But in some ways, she was trying to do it because she was trying to almost keep up with the Joneses, like they say. Um,
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's a fact, man. That's a good point there. Good, very good point you bring on there, man. Keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah, we had a lot of that. That was ours was by sight though, to where people now they trying to keep up with the Joneses with people they don't even know from everywhere because of the internet. Because you can see anything and that's their world, man. I'm gonna wrap up this segment here. I think we pretty much covered the baseline, MapQuest directions and all that kind of stuff. You know, in the early stages of the internet, you had the AOL, the dial-up, where you had to connect. You either had to have the internet on or you had to have your phone line. You had to pick and choose. Young folks that might
yeah.
run by this, you couldn't have both. It was one or the other.
No.
Oh, I tried to call you. Oh man, the internet was. Mom and dad was on the internet. That's how it used to be. That's the
Yeah.
early days of the
And
internet, okay? And
remember before that we had.
yeah,
Oh.
go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry, brother. I was going to say, remember before the internet, we had answer machines. Like
Oh,
if I couldn't get in touch with somebody, we had to leave a message on the answer machine.
I'm glad
And
you said that. I'm glad you said it.
yeah,
Yes,
I remember that.
yes.
And
We
when you
had answering
because
machines. That was how
we
you got a hold of somebody if they weren't home. Yeah. Answering
yeah.
the machine. Now that I think about it, man, I remember I had an answering machine when I was in college. I
Oh,
thought I was
nice.
cool as hell for having an answering machine when I was in college. When I went to GCU back in 1999. And yeah, answering machines were huge, man. I want to add Brian Bates. And now that AI stuff is getting crazy with the tech, yeah, the AI it's taking it over the top, Brian. Also, yeah, oh shit. Oh, Brian brought another great comment here. The custom answering machine greetings. Everybody had their own little thing trying to be cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's very
yeah,
true,
they had
Brian. I
mine.
remember that too, man.
Man,
I
yeah,
remember that
like man,
too.
it'd be cool playing some music or something. Trying to just
Playing
say
some
something.
music. Yep.
That made me giggle, man. That made me laugh. That's a good one, Brian. Yeah. The custom
That's a good one
answering.
because it
That's
was
for
very
real. That's for real, man.
exactly
That was real.
because it
So
was very customary.
it
It was
was.
very customary because when you were a kid at that age, and this is even before beepers and stuff. Because you remember beepers came out before cell phones.
Yeah.
So when people's had pages and they started rocking regular black pages, name brand. I think I forgot the name brand, the one the famous one. I forgot the name of the famous page. And then they started coming with the different neon colored pages. So the birth of technology for our age and our era it was new. We wanted to learn, and I think frankly a lot of people probably wanted to learn that because they probably got sick of going the old ways, like having rotary phones. If you're so excited about calling a girl, but you messed up, so you got to start all over again. And the Zach Morris phone, when that came out, like everybody wanted one of those, and car phones, and so things were it was new. It was new. So when we started getting more and more in terms of little pieces and bits of technology, people wanted to find out. It was new. It was like, oh man, so we don't even have to call and leave a message no more. We can call directly, even with a cell phone, because it's still built into cell phones and stuff like that. But I think I don't know what year texting came out because that just took over everything, man. Like I don't even see people really having conversations like that on phone. I wonder what's the percentage of people that actually really still talk on the phone because
It's low.
nobody don't do that no more.
Yeah.
So and
It's
nobody don't
real.
even want to leave messages.
It's real low, man. It's very low. I think texting came out around. I just got in the Navy.
2000.
04, 05 is when I started texting. That's when
Okay.
I thought it was cool. It's like, wow, this is neat, man. Brian Bates had his answering machine had Busta Rhymes on it. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
And he also had a Motorola root beer brown pager. That's cold as hell. That's cold as hell. A root beer brown pager. I think I had a clear one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, those pages, man. And
I had like a
you had to show it on your hip too, man. You couldn't put your shirt over. You had to put your shirt up. So that was a flex. That page, you had to let them see it,
yep.
see how you ride. So we're gonna end that topic, man. That was a good segment. I had fun with that. That was fun. That was cool. We're gonna go ahead
Yeah,
and
that's
roll into
cool.
our next one, though, man. We're gonna roll into our next one, and this is gonna be some fun as well, man. Again, if you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe to us, man, and we try to bring you, we try to have some fun, um, bring you some joy, bring some cool stuff together, man. We enjoy doing this, man, and it's all about community here with us. So yeah, like and subscribe, man. We are here. We are here, and we're gonna bring more of it. But in our next section here, we are going to talk about what we thought the future would be like. Because I know we all had a vision of what we thought the future was gonna be. You know what I mean? I mean, we all watched the Jetsons and stuff. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper in there. I know Malik has some stuff to say about what we thought the future would possibly could be like back then. I know I had my takes on a few things I thought the future was going to be, um, and a lot of the stuff in the future that we are in, things that we are in now. It's wild. I never thought of AI would be such a thing. That's wild to me. That's some wild futuristic shit. For real. That's wild. But that's what we're gonna speak on. Yeah, on next, man. What we thought the future would be like, man. So, Link, I'm gonna let you lead. You as the guest host. You're the dude. You running the show, man. Take it away.
Well, I knew the future would be almost like a Terminator. When you said AI, I knew eventually, that was leading us to because when I watch movies, remember I was telling you before, when I watch movies, I look at it for a purpose instead of just all the action and stuff like that. I got all that, from when I was a kid, from watching the movies, but I watched it differently. And then when I watched the first Terminator, I knew that we were heading that way. Then when I saw T2 Judgment Day, I already knew we were already in that way. Because right, even in the 90s, AI wasn't around, but it was getting created. And so I knew the kind of future that I thought we were going to have after the Y2K. I thought it would have been like Minority Report, you know, when you see we'd be able to touch screens and, you know, come into a house where it's voice activated because, you know, Bill Gates has that in his crib. You walk into his house, he just has a voice activated where it just automatically comes on. Keenan from Keenan and Kel, he had a commercial where he was talking to his refrigerator. So I knew, and then watching the Jetsons. So the Jetsons and Terminator kind of sprung for movies like Demolition Man and, you know, for all the futuristic Time Cop, you know, all the futuristic movies that came above. I always thought it was going to be something similar like that. Did I think we were going to have flying cars right away? Probably not, because we're not in that timeline, because it's all about the timeline. And for 99 years, we've always had timelines for cars and computers and everything else. I think where it stopped in 2000, because we didn't actually know what the future was going to be like until we got there. Because I automatically assumed this was what it's going to be like, but until we actually got to that era, mine was just guessing and speculations. Because I was thinking like, oh man, Terminator 2, Time Cop, man, it's going to be like this, and the Demolition Man, and you know what actually looked really cool? They had their own interpretation of what the future was going to be like. So I had to add that up all together in my mind to figure out, okay, I know a lot of it is movies and Hollywoods, but then again, I say I look at movies for purpose. Maybe a lot of it that we were doing is going to happen just at a slow pace. So that's what I thought the future was going to be like. I thought it was going to be more in terms of how it is now, but we were going to have what they kind of had in the movies and stuff. But I knew AI was jumping from the first Terminator, you know, because I knew from where we were from the 1980s all the way up to the 90s when they did Terminator, from how computers vast for just like 10 or 15 years, you know, I figured the more deep that we get into the future, the more we're going to learn about AI. And so I knew about AI a long time ago. It's just, like I said, I think it was up and coming at a small level, at a small scale, because how technology was back then, and it hadn't really reached its full peak of full potential to be able to create AI. But I think AI was always created. I think it was always created. We just now seeing it because of the technology that has vast from.
It was in its baby, like you were saying, it was in its baby stages back then, man. Malik, very, very good points. I'm gonna let you dig into this here just a second. Buddy Brian Bates got this stuff. So Malik's been speaking facts. He bouncing back to the last topic. I only talk on the phone. Only people that I talk to on the phone are my wife and my supplier when I'm ordering supplies for work. See, like, yeah. So yeah, we ain't talking. Nobody talking on the phone like that no more, man. It's tough. Also, he said, in the topic now, I thought the future was going to be like Total Recall. That's a good one. That's a good one. I know you mentioned that yesterday too, Malik. Total Recall.
Yeah.
And then, it's another good one, Brian. Then after that, let me see. After that thought, more of that movie, The Fifth Element. That makes me want to go watch that again, man. I remember The Fifth Element. That was wild, man.
Yep.
Fifth Element. That's some great, outstanding examples, Brian. I'm thinking, man, we might have to get Brian on the show if he maybe for Xennials Nostalgia 4. If he I'll definitely I'm now that I'm thinking about it, I don't mean to break ranks and while I'm talking, but we can get him as the third guy on here. I think that'll be great because he has a lot to add, some great information, some good stuff, man, that I think it'll be essential to this show. I think it'll be great. So I'll shoot that.
Sounds good.
If he, it's up to him. I don't want to make him have to answer that right now, man. But the invitation is gonna be up, Brian, man. If you just let me know here later on, because
we would love to have you, B.
Get you on there, get you out here. But yeah, man, The Fifth Element, that caught me, man. That was a really good movie, man. I can't remember everything about it, man, but it was very futuristic though. That sci-fi stuff from the 90s, man. What's the what's the other show? That's another show I'm
So
thinking of. You guys remember
you had
Weird
Judge
Science?
Dredd.
Remember Weird Science?
Yeah, Val Kilmer, rest in
Y'all watch
peace.
Weird Science? Yeah, yeah. Via RP to him, man. Yeah. That's cool deal, man. Hold on one second, Brian, bro. That'd be a huge honor. Chop it up with y'all. Yeah. Hey, Brian, we doing that. Yeah, we're gonna next show, man. I want to get you on here, man. So he's down, Malik. He's down. We're gonna get him up on
Okay.
here too, man. He's down, man.
Bet.
I love that. Hell yeah. That makes me happy right there.
Judge, y'all remember Judge? Y'all remember Judge Dredd? Judge Dredd and Blade
Dredd,
Runner.
man.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember Judge Dredd, man. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Judge Dredd. What else you had, man? Yeah,
You
man.
had
It was even hell, man. This is kind of goofy. Y'all gonna laugh at me for this one, man. Cause I'm reaching back to the '80s for this one. Y'all remember that show, Small Wonder?
vaguely.
Vaguely.
I remember it, but vaguely.
With the robot.
I have to go back and
Right.
watch it, but I vaguely remember it. I think I do remember, but it was a great show.
Yeah, it was solid, man. So you had that. Yeah, man. That's just that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Rollerball. Yeah, Brian with the rollerball. Yeah, man. We just thought I hate to bring up the Jetsons again, man, but like at age 12 and stuff, I did think we was gonna have like flying cars and stuff by the time I was probably my age now. I kind of thought that kind of stuff, but we do have we do even something like you know when I went from high school to where I went uh to college, and I discovered what an email was. That was crazy to me. I'm like, I don't have to write a letter. I can literally type up what I want to say and just shoot it out in the solar system or whatever. Not necessarily the solar system, but y'all know what I'm talking about. That was amazing to me. I
Universe.
still got the universe. Thank you for that correction, man. But I thought that was
Well,
amazing. Back then, I still got my first email that I made in 1999 at Georgia Southern. Now that's my same email. I got several different emails now, but I still got my first base email from Yahoo, man. I still use the same one.
that's amazing.
That was so amazing to me. Yeah, I still got that, man. I think that
That's amazing.
email was a big one for me. I thought email was.
No,
I think email was a game changer. Maybe not on a huge scale as far as the future, but it's futuristic now. I mean, like now, I mean that's something I have to have now, man. Like I could, you know what I mean? Like in the '90s, email, electronic mail, I guess, right? That's what it stands for. I mean, yeah. Brian, Brian said meeting shorties on Yahoo chat. Yeah. Yahoo chat. I remember that. Yeah.
well, I remember when
Yahoo
I
chat was
remember when
it.
you said the Jetsons. I remember when you kept mentioning the Jetsons, but I don't know if you remember. I actually saw this in the movie, The Jetsons versus the Flintstones, and I thought that was great because you had from 99 years. You had not you remember that movie? So remember where the Jetsons met the Flintstones? I think that was a great collaboration because when you look at it stepping back, we actually learned from the caveman years to the futuristic years. And it was great because they learned a lot from what they brought from the future to what they brought from the past. And that was just awesome when they made that movie. It was awesome, man. So it all comes back to if we had met somebody from those times to now, how could we learn from each other? And what could we learn from each other? So I just wanted to make that point. I'm glad that you always brought up the Jetsons because the Jetsons was really the cornerstone cartoon for futuristic events.
Yeah.
Now did they have a message like the Simpsons had a message? I don't know. I have to go back and watch some episodes because you never know. It might have been a message like how how the Simpsons always had messages, or they had predictions. But I believe that the prediction from the Jetsons versus the Flintstones was a big prediction from East meeting West, kind of, if you would like to say, in terms, you know what I'm saying, and actually learning a lot from both individually and as together. So the future, if it's done the right way, if it's lived the right way, it has great qualities. But then again, like anything else, it has pros and cons. Like here where I live, if the Wi-Fi goes out, we still got to pay. If the phone battery dies and stuff, you always got to charge. Or if the phone's messing up, you got to get another phone. So it's always pros and cons for futuristic things. But I think all above, having technology, using chat PCT, I think we're actually in control of, let me see how can I put this. I think we're actually in control of learning AI, the way it should be learning by just asking you can ask the most random questions in the world and I had to have an answer for you. Because I always thought AI was bad from, watching all the movies like, oh, Lord, what if something like that happens? God forbid. We already know human beings, and human beings might push a button where we can all just go and then the machines will take over. And so, a lot of that was sci-fi and entertainment, but, a lot of that also has you thinking because right now, some of it's true. We got people in office that don't even care that could either push their hands on a button from temptation of, okay, well, we're America, we're gonna push back. We ain't gonna have you push us around, we're gonna push back. So somebody could easily push that button and we can all fucking be going up. God forbid it doesn't happen. But it just teaches us a lot. It teaches us, I think with technology comes with great responsibility.
It does.
And if
I'm gonna stop you real quick. I want you to dime in on something that I like that you said. I want you to elaborate on the pros and cons of this. I like that.
Pros and cons?
The pros and I want to push in that direction a little bit. I like when you brought there, or just stop for the audience and show them what I'm talking about here. Malik just said there are pros and cons to the technology basically that we have nowadays, right? From what we had then, and I think that is a vital response to what it really is, man, because there's a lot of great things that we have going on now that's been given to us with great inventions that are here now that are pros, but there's a backlash to some of that stuff too. You know what I mean, with the new generation and different things like that. So I'm gonna let Malik. I'd like you to wrap this section up here, about a 2 to 3 minute time frame. I want you to expand on that pros and cons because I think it's important to talk about here.
Okay, so I think the pros of it, like AI, for example, we could use AI to ask us any question, and pretty much AI pretty much lives our whole life for us. I think that's the pros. I think the pros on having cell phones is good because if you remember back in the day, like if we got stuck, we had to either have a quarter to use a pay phone, but it's like now if your phone is fully charged, you'll be able to call, for help for an emergency. So I think a lot of those uh, technical, what I'm saying, I wouldn't say, well, okay, let me say this. I think a lot of pros to using technology the right way, like how we're using technology the right way. I think there's a lot of pros to it, especially when you're doing business, because it can help you not only expand your business, but you're able to learn about technology more and use it the right way. I think when it starts to get as a con, where people think they live above everybody else, say, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do this way, we're going to do this way, that could damage us. Because if you think, man, the whole world doesn't know us, except when we're doing stuff like this, but if generally if we were just regular type guys, the whole world don't know us. Remember, I was telling you, Earl, presidents of the United States, no matter who it is, they don't come to our house and be like, hey, man, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I think the cons of it is when you have people that don't have accountability, that's where the cons come in with machine, because whenever you have a positive, you always have a negative. When you always have a negative, you always have a positive. So, the basis of having technology, if you use it the right way, you can really flourish and make it grow. Like, how we shooting a show that we're shooting and we're using it the right way. You know what I'm saying? There's no stopping points. There's nothing negative about it. Where nobody's, hey, we're going to do this way and do this way. No, because when you come together, like you said, as a community, and you're using it the right way, you can see it flourish. It's when you're not using it the right way is where it could be damaging. And that's where you see your Terminators, Skynet and all that. And it's you're always going to have those in everything in everyday life, especially when it comes with technology. So everybody out there, use technology the right way. Don't be running up like your mom's old phone bills and stuff like that. How everybody used to run up 900 calls on the phone bills. Don't do anything crazy that is going to be detrimental or damaging. Use it right, use it responsibly. Because I think if you use technology responsibly, I think you'll get a better mindset. It's not when you're not using it responsibly. That's when you get a whole different kind of mindset, and then it could just go apes up, you know what I'm saying? Shit's up. So that's what I think.
Well said. Very well said. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Very, very good take there. I'm gonna add what Brian said. See, no, not gonna front. Played football in high school, and I always wanted to play on that football field in the Jetsons, the dome football field out in space. That's good. That's good. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. I
And
remember that.
he also added the biggest backlash is falling into the wrong hands. It could be scary from what you were
Yep.
talking about. So awesomely said.
Yep.
That's real stuff there, man. We're gonna roll into section 3 here, man. It is here. It is here. We had to work for entertainment. Okay, so we had to. This can go a lot of ways. I mean, we had our Nintendos and Super Nintendos, Sega Genesis and stuff, but I think this is more on the spectrum of like us going out doing stuff, recording songs on a tape, you know what I mean, and pushing play and record at the
Yep.
same time, you know what I'm saying? We went to Blockbuster Video, uh, especially in the summertime. We went every single day because they always had specials. I couldn't go stream on the internet when I was 12 years old. I went on Powder Springs Road and went to Blockbuster and got movies for
Yep.
99 cents a piece all the time, man. That was my entertainment. You know what I mean? But stuff was different. You had to be creative. I think we had to be creative. We had to be creative in order to entertain ourselves, man. I can remember at one time, and this is kind of funny, man. It might be kind of ghetto, but I'm gonna say it anyway. When I we
Say it.
we we
Preach
moved,
it.
we moved in yeah, man. When we moved in our house, when I was I was in 6th grade. We didn't have our basketball goal yet. I didn't get my basketball goal to 7th grade when I was at Smithton. Man, we got a box. We had a box. Man, my little brother was shooting in the damn shooting hoops in a box, bro. We just had an imagination, man. That was just what it was. We you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that was just we 90, maybe it's named a little bit. We had to work. And again, I say that to put this up here. We had to work for entertainment, man. We had to you couldn't, here's the deal, you couldn't go around like kids today be like, man, I'm bored. I don't got nothing to do with all these amenities they got. Now, us, mid-90s, you couldn't say that to your parents. I'm bored. You bored? I'm gonna give you something to do. That's what that was used to be. I'm gonna give you something to do. So you bored. Come on, man. Anyhow, That's what I got there. I mean, I don't want to go on a rant there. I'm gonna go on a rant. I'm gonna pass the mic to yourself. We had to work for entertainment. What kind of things do you have on in store for this topic?
About that. There was a call that was coming in. Sorry about that. Go ahead. What were you
Okay,
saying?
no worries, no worries. We had to work for entertainment. I'm gonna get your take on some of your experiences or some of your thoughts on this.
Well, you were right. You were right. We had to work for entertainment. Entertainment was strictly hard back then because we had to do everything manually. Like, but it was exciting. I like to give a shout out to Blockbuster in Oregon, Bend, Oregon, the last Blockbuster. If you guys want to listen to that, watch it on Netflix. I
Absolutely.
actually called up there and talked to the people. Great class of people. It was cool, but I think really what that is, man, we had to work for it. But see, we worked for it in a way to where it was like, oh man, that wasn't detrimental. This was boring. This was, you know what I'm saying? Because when we like every Friday nights when we got out of school, we would always, that's where Blockbuster was really making his money. Blockbusters was making his money. That weekend stuff was making it. We would go home, come home from school, eat our dinner, or we'll wait to eat the dinner, you know what I mean, and go to Blockbuster and come back and watch Blockbuster movies after, or eat our dinner or have popcorn. So that was actually the days that was actually real worth it, man. Checking, going, learning about Blockbuster, learning all the tools and stuff like that, because you were learning about tapes and CDs. Like that's when we were watching that video. Shots out for you for that '90s video. When we used to record tapes, and it was more meaningful and it was more memorable. It was like baseball cards. Like a lot of that stuff, you could trade with your friends, and that was the brightness of our life, man. And recording tapes. But what was it? iPad came out, like they took over all that. You didn't have to do that no more. So it was a big difference, man. We didn't. It was very hard as a kid to work for it, but it was exciting. But then when you look back now from when we had iPads, when they were recording all the music and moving music and stuff like that, it was cool because it was a fresher breath of air where we didn't have to do it no more. But the well worth it was actually digging into the ground, recording mixtapes, having tape set players, and having Blockbuster nights where you can go get movies, and the people were gamers then. They would get games. So I mean, it was, the quality of that was so superb. But then when iPad came out, it was kind of like, okay, iPad was to the point where it gave us a rest. We didn't have to work as hard to get into the entertainment. Now that's when, because even when we had radio stations, it was hard to get on a radio station. It was very, very hard to get on a radio station. But now, because radio stations is done away, podcast was the new thing for everybody that could do it. Because everybody couldn't do radio stations, but everybody could do podcasts. So, the transition for us to work for entertainment was a lot harder, but it was a lot worth it. Because now when technology came, I know for me, I'd be like, I don't know. Like I had this conversation, not to get off topic, about when I was at my church. Shouts out to my church. Talking about, when you have, I don't know if you have this in your car, Earl. When you back up, you got the backup screen and stuff like that. Like I didn't need that. When I took my driver's test, I did that old school. So there were some things I could do old school, and there were some things I needed to rely on technology to make it quicker in my life. That's what I think technology for me is, to make it a lot more sufficient and efficient than just like when we had to look up in the phone book, just like we had to record tapes, just like we had to go to Blockbuster. When they shut the last Blockbuster down, it was that really broke my heart, man, because it was so many great things that happened at Blockbuster. And, when they shot Captain Marvel, where she fell into the first one, when she fell into the Blockbuster, that was iconic, because behind that movie, I don't think we have seen Blockbusters in 10 years. And then that's when they did the Netflix special, The Last Blockbuster. And that's in Bend, Oregon. I'm not sure if you ever been to Oregon, but
I have.
Bend, Oregon is a small, you have? Okay, so
I
they
haven't
had,
been
so when
big, but yeah, I've been to Oregon. I've been to Astoria, Oregon, where the Goonies was taped. I've been there.
I got you. Okay. So when I called up there, I was like, you guys are still around, y'all the last ones, and they really the last blockbuster. And I saw
Great.
that, and that's why I like to give shouts out to Netflix's documentaries because they got some of the best documentaries for real. That was a really, really good
That was
documentary,
good.
man. Like, 'cause when we thought about blockbusters, like it brought back memories. Like lights started flashing because Netflix. I don't know if you know this, Earl, but the thing I loved about that documentary, Netflix was trying to partner with Blockbuster. But the problem was Blockbuster wanted to stick because it was supposed to have been Netflix Blockbuster or something like that. They said problem was Blockbuster didn't want to do it. So when we had that recession in 2008, when Lehman
Yeah.
Brothers messed everything up, Blockbuster was the first one to go. That's why when Netflix came out before, they had a premonition like, okay, well, we're gonna get big, even though what we're doing is unheard of, like sending DVDs through the mail and stuff like that. But we're about to even expand because they looked at Blockbuster's analysis and they were trying to literally partner with them, and Blockbuster wasn't having it. And because of that, that's why Blockbuster went out of business.
They were the
So
first
it was a
ones to
great
go.
documentary, man. I was a bit, huh?
After that, no,
It was up.
I was just saying they were the first ones to go, and I don't want to say what's the little thing you're cooking, bro. I think I'm doing it right. I know I'm old. You're cooking. You're killing it.
Yeah,
I love it.
you
I
remind me of my
love it.
homie. You,
You're killing it. You're
you remind
cooking
me of
right
my
now,
homie
man.
Mike, man. Shouts out to Mike on the square, where he's from New York, dude, African dude, but he used to do the same motions. Like when I'm like cooking, I'm like, Mike, what you
There we
doing,
go.
man? He's like, I'm cooking, I'm cooking. So you just brought, yeah, he was doing that. Say, yeah,
Yeah, you are cooking.
that's
You
awesome.
cooking and you
That's
cooking,
priceless.
man.
But he was doing
I
that
just gotta
same
give
stuff.
you. I gotta give you your props, man. Gotta give you your props, man. I want to dive in. And brother Brian got some words here. I want to
Go
read
ahead,
Brian's
Brian.
comments here. Let's see. We're hitting this up. Let's see where are we at here. What he said. Brian said bored. We never. He said we never imagined. Yeah, never imagination. We had to keep you busy till the street lights came on. True.
Yep.
Friday night blockbuster, the feels, bro. Friday, and he feels us when we're talking. Blockbuster was a treat. You couldn't just go to Blockbuster anytime. That shit was a treat, man. And like we went every day during the summertime. Don't get me wrong, but he's right. Blockbuster, man, you got to go up there. You get to select. I get to select couple movies. My siblings get to go select couple movies, man. And don't let me get some candy from there, some of them Skittles from there, some popcorn or some shit to go along with it. It was
Mm-hmm.
going down. That made the night, bro. You were good to go. Um, Ryan also said Columbia House, Columbia House putting us in debt with the 11 CDs for a penny. Yeah, 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 yeah. Also, see, he got Netflix assassinated Blockbuster like they were trying to put Lyndon B. Johnson in office. You can appreciate that. Yeah. Man, yeah, they hammered Blockbuster. Oh yeah, Blockbuster was done. What's the song? What's that song? Video killed the radio star. That's kind of what Blockbuster kind of did. What Netflix did to
Well,
Blockbuster, man.
I don't know if you guys know this, Warren. So I was sitting. Shouts out to my pops. I always call him Diggity, but I was sitting living with my dad. I was living with Diggity a couple years, and Monday through Fridays, my stepmom Lisa. Shouts out to my stepmom. She would cook from Sunday through Friday, and Friday and Saturday we would have to defend ourselves. So she would be in the TV room, and me and Diggy will sit there, and we would sit in silence, or a lot of times we have conversation. But one thing he told me was fun fact: Warren Buffett owned Blockbusters because he owns Carnival. So when Blockbuster went down, it didn't even matter to him because he had so many Blockbusters all over. And I remember Dad telling
Yeah,
me this, and because he's like, Malik, Warren Buffett, man, he owned Blockbuster. I was like, nah, I didn't know that because he owns Carnival. So I didn't even know he had Blockbuster. So when Blockbuster went out of business, that didn't hurt. I kept saying that too. I was like, man, because after we had that conversation, I was like, man, he Warren Buffett still ain't hurting for nothing. And Blockbuster was a big deal for us kids. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it
Because
was.
it was something for us to where it made it to where, okay, Monday through Friday we go to school, and then after that we go to our friends' cribs and hang. You know what I'm saying? But it was so for ourselves. It was Blockbuster for everybody, but it was mainly more for us. And I want
Yeah,
to give a shout out, God rest in peace, to Fernando. Earl, you remember Fee? He used to work at
I remember.
Blockbusters,
I remember.
and
Yeah,
but he
I
passed away
remember.
a couple years ago.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
remember when I went up there, he was up there, and it was just, and like you said it best. It was a treat. We were looking forward to Friday nights. We were really, really looking forward to Fridays. I mean, because after I would go, go hanging with you and Dino and Jerome and everything, man. If we weren't doing nothing, we would automatically go to Blockbuster on Friday nights. We would be able to pay, and if y'all remember this, remember the late fees and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and how they would charge us late fees, and sometimes depending on who you are, they could waiver it. But
Yep.
I mean, I miss all those
Late
days,
fees. I
man.
remember that.
You remember that? So, and it was just, and like you said, with not only the Blockbuster had videos, but it's like, you hungry? Yo, you hungry? Bet. We got Twizzlers, we got popcorn, we got all types of candies, we had drinks in the drink machine. So they made it family oriented. Now, did it take away from us going to the movies? Which now I think about it, because people were still going to the movies, but I don't know if it was. I don't think it was when Blockbuster was around. I don't think it was a lot of. I think it was kind of half and half, but I
It
think it
was.
was
Yeah.
more
It was
Blockbuster
even. It was pretty
because.
even.
Huh?
It was. It was. Yeah. It was pretty even. It took back then. I don't mean to cut you off. It took a little bit
No, it's
longer
okay, brother.
for the movies at the movie theater to hit the videos. The video store. To where
Yep.
now, um, these things now can movies that come out now. It don't take no time for it to be on Netflix or something. It's a very short time. Back
Nope.
then, it had to be at least like 6 months before it come out on video. Like you had to wait.
Yep.
You had to wait it out. You know what I
You
mean?
really
So
had to
you
wait.
you either you either made the choice like I'm going to go out and see this movie when it come out, or like my mom said, no, we gonna wait till that one's on video. You have to wait 6 months. That's how it used to
And you
be.
remember that.
You used to have to
And you
make that
remember that.
choice.
You remember that. Yeah, very true. And you remember that. You remember that old saying, man. And I remember. You know this. I know Brian remember this. Oh, we having a Blockbuster night.
Yep.
And that was the pinnacle. That was the pinnacle of Blockbusters. When everybody, I mean, if you guys remember, you remember when we used to go there on the weekends, man, it used to be packed. I mean, packed.
Everybody
Matter
was
of fact, another fun fact. You Earl remember this? Another kid that we went to high school with, one of the Blockbusters. You remember Will? And it was Will that went
yep.
up there. So DMX, God rest in peace, was at Blockbuster, and my mom was there. God rest in peace, mom. And Will was there, and they had I don't know if my mom knew that DMX was right there, but Will was trying to tell me and Ronaldo that DMX was up there because he had his, back then when Hummers came out, like when H2s came out, Hummers on 22s and stuff like that. And that was another thing when they saw Hummers that you guys used in the military for so long, they just like, you know what, we're gonna make it a truck. And I think the first Hummer truck that I remember, Arnold Schwarzenegger had got the first Hummer H2, I think it was. And that's when everybody else was getting Hummers and Humvees and everything, man. So, DMX was there and he was sitting on 22s or something like that, but he was standing, I think, behind my mom, and I think or he was standing in front of right behind my mom. So, it was amazing that DMX came to the South even back then,
Yeah.
rolling the way he was rolling to go to Blockbuster. You had a big time artist going to Blockbuster. So that's how special Blockbuster was. Because you right now remember it, we had to go to the movies before it came on tape, and I used to be mad because there was a lot of movies we saw in the theater. We couldn't just keep going. We could afford it, but we couldn't afford it because movie theaters even back then, that
Yeah,
stuff was
back then it
getting
was
expensive.
pricey. It was pricey. Yeah.
The prices,
It was very
the
pricey.
prices were getting expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had to wait, it was upsetting because I was like, we gotta wait. No, I want to see this movie now. I don't want to have to pay. I want to be able to pay. I want to save my mom some money and go to Blockbusters where it's cheaper instead of spending $10, $12 at the movie theater, and you can get everything at Blockbuster. You want popcorn, you want candy, boom, throw that in the mix. You got the movie, you got video games, boom, throw. So Blockbusters was very, very special. It was unique. It was really, really unique. And then when they had the last Blockbuster, when they did away with it, because Hollywood Video tried to sneak in for about 10 years. I never been. I think I might have went in there once or something like that to go browse around, but I'm like, this ain't Blockbusters, man. Like Blockbusters. Then you remember Redbox. Then when Redbox started doing that,
Redbox too,
right? And then that's when Netflix came along.
Wasn't the same, man. Yeah,
so
Redbox was right in between that. Yeah.
It was right in between.
I want to bring up one more thing.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember this, but now it just popped up in my head. There used to be a movie theater off of Franklin Road that was like 50 cents and $1 back in 92, 93 that my mom used to take us to. It was a movie theater. We used to, because I remember we went and seen, I can't remember the movies. We went and seen a few movies over there. I guess the ones that been out for a while and stuff, they put them at that theater. I swear it was like 50 cents and $1 to go see the movie. So we used to get to go there, especially the summer when my dad was in Virginia in like 92 in Norfolk, Virginia for the Navy. And mom used to take us up there too. So we go to some daytime movies up there sometime. But you had those little hole in wall theater. But I was cool with it, man. You don't got nothing like that no more. You don't got them theaters like that. They don't do that anymore. And Brian Bates, movies in the theater were also like $5 back in the day. True. I took my kids and my wife to the movies a month ago. It was almost $100 for a ticket and food. And brother, I believe you, man. It is out today. They hit you where it hurts nowadays, man. I don't even remember.
They went too far.
I went to a movie.
They went too.
My kids were a little bit younger. Last time I went, I'm just like, man, I'm just gonna chill. And he also said, I remember going to Blockbuster when the new hot game. Always asking the clerk, did a copy of that game get returned? Very good point. Very good point, because I can remember asking. Sometimes it was like that with some of the newer movies that came out, and they get snatched up real quick. You come back, hey, is that movie back yet? Is it back yet? They got it back yet? We keep asking them. Very good. That's very, very true, man. Blockbuster, man. Now I want to watch that Bend, Oregon Blockbuster documentary again.
It's really good. It's very good, man, because it's really, and that's why I say, Earl, I give shouts out to Netflix, man, because they got documentaries that'll really get you, especially when that hit me from watching the last Blockbuster. I didn't really know. Like I said, me and Diggity Man would always say that when he told me that Warren Buffett had owned Blockbuster, that's about as much. That was a fun fact. That was about as much as I knew as far as being a kid and always going to Blockbuster. But it was very, very interesting. The 2008 crash really took a toll on everything. And when they closed the last Blockbuster, because you remember on Mapleton. Because remember, if you go over, Floyd Middle School, they had a Blockbuster. Remember that Blockbuster that was over there? And then there was an old movie theater that Matt used to take me to. I think my Rashidi took me over there too when Jurassic Park came out. It was like an old movie theater somewhere in Mapleton. If you make that right, like I think there's not Veterans Memorial, but if you make that left, then there was a movie theater I think was on the right. It was an old movie theater. And nowadays they beefed up security with they beefed everything up with movie theaters. Now they got it to where you got reclinables, you can have food, you can have drinks. I remember going to Movie Studio Grill, shouts out to them. I walked out of the bathroom with a beer. You know what I'm saying? And going into and just looking around when everybody was walking, I had a Heine. Shouts out to Heineken because that's my favorite beer. I had a Heine going into just walking out, moving the Heine around, looking. I'm like, I'm in a public place drinking a beer. A couple years ago, we couldn't even do that. We couldn't
that
bring
was
no beer. We would have to remember back when we used to go to movie theaters. We used to sneak food in because food was getting so expensive. We used to sneak in movie theaters. We used to go watch. We used to go watch one movie and sneak into bed. See, those were the days we were able to do that. Like the last time I went with my stepmom and my sister Nancy, give shout out to them. We went to go see Australia, and there was another one we went to go see, and we snuck out that one. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know my stepmom really had the heart to that, man, because she's really cool, but I figured, she knows right from wrong. So, when we did that, it was really, really cool. We got to go see one movie. Went to go see Australia, and since you were talking about Australia, that was really, I think that was based on a true story, but that was a great movie. Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman, shouts out to them, because you thought that was a love story, but it was really, really good, man. Like Australia was really good. It had a lot of historical events, into that movie. So, it was just working hard to get to what we had to get was well worth it, because back then we knew technology was coming up when we were, but at the same time, we still had to work hard to get into the entertainment world. You know what I'm saying? Because that's something that we were used to doing, and we didn't have a thought about it. Nobody had a thought of like, oh God, I don't feel like doing this. Our thought was we make it in the Blockbuster night. So it was so easy for us to go to Blockbuster and get the stuff we wanted to get.
Yep. Straight up, man. That was a fun topic. I'm gonna wrap that one up. Brian.
That was a fun topic. That was a fun topic.
That was awesome. Sneaking pizza into the movies was wild. Yeah, man. We was sneaking food in that joint, man. That was a real deal. That's something we did back in the 90s, man. All you Xennials out there, all you 90s baby, 90s kids, I know you guys probably remember that, man. Stuff in your pockets with whatever the hell you can get in there.
Yep.
So bring it in that thing, man, because your parents was telling you, I'm not gonna pay for them sky high prices at the movie theater. I know mine wasn't. They're like, you better let's go to the food depot off of Austell Road. You better get you some food because I ain't buying them nothing else. And I learned that.
And then
I have some big pockets. You better bring that food in there.
Yep.
Yeah, gotta bring that.
Well, we had to wear different. When we went to the movies, we couldn't even bring book bags in there. We did it. I think in the beginning people were doing it at first, but then they kind of caught on. Like, we know what's going on. So you had to wear like baggy clothes to be able to get all the sticks and Skittles and Reese's Pizza and everything because your pockets were too full. But and then the fact I love that we get I used to love sneaking into other movies, man, because I wanted to see this, and then I was like, damn, this other one is playing at this other time, but this one I'm about to wait for this one to wrap it up, and then we'll go into the theater, and the people that are taking our tickets, they were so far up front, it was so easy to do because we didn't have to go to a whole nother side. Where we made it look obvious, like everything, the movies we wanted to see was right there. So we would go at 8 and come out of the movies at 11, and they didn't have no thought about it. I'm thinking, like, if I was them, like, wait a minute, didn't you just see a movie this movie was only 2 hours? You getting out at 11? So I think it was real acceptable back then when we were able to do that. Every 90s kid did that, man. Every 90s kid saw a movie they wanted to slide into. We saw one, we jumped. Exactly. That movie hopping.
But yeah, Brian Bates, shout out to the North Face jackets for the extra pockets. Yeah, North Face. I think you had one of those, Malik. I think you had a North Face jacket.
What's that? Okay, yeah.
I remember you had one of those, Brian.
You remember that?
Brian, I'm gonna tell on Malik. Malik had one of those, dog. He had a North Face. I don't know how I remember that from 25 plus years ago. Yeah, he had.
I can't believe you remember that because I remember that until you said that. Yep.
You remember, yeah. Malik
I forgot I did have a North Face.
To where you sneak that food in there. So yeah, he that's what's up, man. We're gonna roll on.
Hold on 1 second.
Do your thing, man.
Gotta check the sprinkler, dude.
Take about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry guys, I gotta come check the sprinklers.
I literally just need.
Okay. Come on. Sorry about that. They're coming and checking the speakers and everything. Y'all good? Okay.
This is real life. Right. It's all good, man. We live.
Sorry about that, y'all.
Do your thing. It's all good, man. All good. Live.
We good.
We're gonna roll into we got 2 more sections that we're gonna cover today for today's show. The next section is going to be as follows: school life in the '90s and early 2000s. That's the it's more so the '90s, but I added the early 2000s too because early 2000s you still kind of got to roll over the '90s a little bit. So school life '90s, early 2000s. Now I'm gonna bring up a couple things, man. Like we used to have for our books. Remember, we used to have to save our paper bags at home, so we had to wrap our books in damn
Paper bag, yep.
brown paper bags, man. And I remember I used to get classmates to do it for me because I didn't know how to do that shit. I didn't know how to.
Me
I
neither.
was horrible. I was horrible at it, and the teachers, like you had, if I'm not mistaken, you had 1 week. You had 1 week to make sure that damn book is wrapped up in a stupid brown paper bag, before
Right.
you get in trouble, man. So yeah, that was one of the big things I can remember from school. It's something small and it's kind of dumb, but you had the kids nowadays. You had to wrap the books up because people had to use those books the next year. So for those bags, man, you had to have that. That was mandatory. That was straight up mandatory to have that book wrapped up. Um, we had all kind of cool gear. We had the trapper keepers. We had those in
Yep.
school.
Trapper keepers.
We had all that kind of stuff. Everybody, I think book bag. I had a Jam Sport book bag. The Jan Sports lasted you a few years too. I think Jan Sport was the best book bag if I'm not mistaken, man, because you could use that. They had a warranty on those. If they broke, you had like 2-3 years on the Jan Sports, man. So the Jan Sports was fire. And they look good too. So Jan Sport.
Yeah, they did.
That's a lot of stuff about school, about school and man, I mean, we really can go in any direction in this. Malik, I'm gonna pass it to you. School life in the '90s, 2000s, man. I mean, more so the '90s for us, obviously, but I mean, from middle to high school, just anything, man. What comes to mind when that's mentioned?
So I remember when I got since to go to your other segment where you were talking about when we had like tape recorders and stuff like that. I remember we had DVD players, and I would walk around school listening to Peter Guns and Laura Tyreek, Uptown Baby,
I remember
and
that.
I was listening to that religiously. Earl, you might have seen me with that a couple of times, but I
I
used to
did.
rock. Well, I used to really rock with headphones, and that was the thing. I had my Kango joint. I remember I had this fresh Aeropostale joint. When Aeropostale was really Aeropostale. But they had it for urban. They had it to where we could flip it to urban. And I used to have my Kango hat, the Aeropostale Kango hat with the gear and everything. And I had my thing, and I'm just walking around, uptown baby, we gets the crown, baby. You know what I'm saying? So I remember those days, and you brought back memories with the paper brown. I remember every kid that came out of the class. That was the style. That was actually really a style because I'm assuming that was not the scratch any kind of books, scratch the front part of it or anything, but that was the style. Trapper keepers, man. Oh, that was the '90s epiphany of keeping your pins and your erasers and everything
Everything.
in the trapper keeper. And I remember trapper keepers since middle school.
Yeah.
Because middle school, when I was in, actually, I remember Trapper Keepers since I was in elementary school. Because elementary school, I think that's when Trapper Keepers was really hidden. And then when we got to high school, it was still hidden. And then it seemed like it kind of did away after ninth grade. I know for us. It seemed like after ninth grade it did, because I think when I was in third grade, it was third to ninth grade. That's when Trapper Keepers were booming. Like
That makes
everybody
sense.
wanted to have a Trapper Keeper. And my mom gave me a crazy Trapper Keeper. She gave me a Hello Kitty. And I'm like, Mom, I'm no female. Why would you give me a pink Hello Kitty Trapper Keeper? And I'm not even afraid to say that. Love you to death, Mom. God rest in peace. Shots out. But I'll never forget that. She gave me a Hello Kitty. I'm like, Mom, I'm not a girl. You could have gave me a Transformer, any Transformer, or even a Marvel Trapper Keeper. when Marvel was showing their face out. But Hello
Yeah.
Kitty, I looked at her like, so I had to hide it. I literally had to hide it. I was in elementary school. I had to hide that. And it's like I could not take it because Mom spent money. But then I was like, Mom, I don't really don't. I'm a guy, man. Why would you give me a Hello Kitty Trapper Keeper? So I just remember Trapper Keepers, and Trapper Keepers were so technical. You could push a button if you remember, and it'll automatically unlock and open up. So Trapper
Yeah.
Keepers were the thing. Like,
It was before its
like I
time.
remember when people in the 90s had fanny packs and all that craziness. I'm like, that's crazy. But my high school years in the ninth grade was really actually cool, man. We were young, we were trying to explore, we saw all our friends from all the other previous grades we went to, it was the landmark from elementary school to middle school to high school
Yeah.
where all your friends were there. So it was kind of like you got your friends there. So it wasn't like you were complete strangers. You got to meet people, but you got to see all the people that you knew. So it kind of edged it in to where it was a balance to where it's like, okay, we're at a brand new school, but I still got my old friends, and then I meet my new friends. So it was the life of the 90s was good until we had that gang banging and people getting in fights and stuff. I remember shouts out to Melissa Moss, played with her cousin in East Marietta Rams when I played football back then. Remember that everybody got in the fights. And Earl, you remember this. Remember after we eat lunch, we would always come out and congregate. You know what I'm saying? When there was a whole bunch of people outside, and it wasn't a problem until people started getting in fights. And Melissa, or was it Melissa? No, it was her cousin Victoria, her sister Victoria. When she got into that fight and beat that girl's butt and threw the weave up in the sky, in the air, I just looked over and I saw a weave just got thrown up in the air, and I was like, man, what the hell is going on here? And they cut all that. And after that announcement, they're like, yeah, we can't eat out, we can't come outside no more. You got to either stay in the lunchroom or you got to go next to your class. You can't hang out inside. But did we listen? No. We were the OHS crew. We were the 90s crew. We did it anyway.
I think I missed that, man. I think they totally banned it by the time I got there. I think that was your ninth grade year. I remember them talking about the year before we was allowed to eat outside, and by the time I got there, they was like, "Nah, bro, yeah, we ain't doing that. That wasn't allowed anymore." So I do
because there was so many fights. There was so many fights. Like when people would come out, it was so many fights because we were able to, before you guys got there, we had a lot of freedom to do that. But as anybody else, and Brian can probably contest, one bad apple always messes it up for the rest of us. So, but it got to the point, it was more than just one bad apple. I'm talking about there was more fights out there in a day than I've ever seen in watching movies. You know what I'm saying? Like it was so many fights out there, and then when I gang banging, Bloods, Crips, folk, and I mean, Earl, I think you remember this. I think you were there with us. Remember the year 10th grade when we had that dance? We came outside. It was me, Dell, and Kelly. But I think you were out there too. We had a fight. It was a Friday night. We had that riot where all the kids ran out because I think somebody let loose some shots, and there was a whole bunch of people. Man, I'll never forget that stuff, man. So Osborne was bad, man. So I just tried to stay in my lane. That when you came, because you came. I think I started hanging with you like the end of my ninth grade, the beginning of my 10th grade. I think my sophomore. It was either. I felt like it was my freshman year. I felt like I met you my freshman year because you used to always drop Dino off. I don't know if that was the freshman year you was dropping him off or the sophomore year, but when you came, that's when things started changing and it gotten better. It gotten really, really better. And all the fun that we had, throughout the whole high school years. And I'm so glad every day that you came when you were dropping Dino off that you stayed. You didn't just drop him off and left, like you literally stayed and hung. And that was the best time of the years because I was like, damn, Earl's a cool cat. And you just kept, and then I was getting to ride with y'all. You know what I'm saying? When we were dropping them off, because we were all going to the same place. So, I think the 90s at Osborne, man, that was some of the best years of my life was when you guys were there. And, I never got myself into trouble. I mean, I got in a little minor stuff. I got in fights, got more like shouting matches, and they ended up sending me home to cool off. But, I never was really around the ragamuffins that were just straight brawling every day, man. Like cats getting their butt whips coming out of a class. You would come out of the class and you see a whole crowd of people. I'm like, man, what's going on now? people getting in fights and stuff, getting dumped upon, man. I'm like, what are y'all doing to put yourselves, to expose yourselves out there like this, man? Like, go to class, hang with your crew, talk to some females, make some money if you can, and then bounce off. But they couldn't do that. But those were the best times. I think those were some of the best times of my life, man, was the 90s, man. It was a really, really, what I like to say, it was a peak. You know what I'm saying? It was my peak of adulthood, of young adulthood, of seeing all the amazing stuff going on and seeing all the wild stuff going on too. And I think it was a lot more wild than it was kind of like amazing. You couldn't even go to a football field. When we used to go to, remember we used to go to the football nights, we used to go to the, school on Friday nights, and then cats would be out there, then they'd be wanting to swing on somebody out in the parking lot. They want to swing in it. I'm like, but that's just how the school was, man. It was just crazy. But I some of my best years was at Osborne in the 90s with you guys, and you know, I remember kissing I kissed this one chick in my class, man. We were making out before everybody came in, and then we stopped and shit, man. Martinique Hall. I remember that shit. There were two sisters, and one of them her name was Martinique. And somehow we just went up, we were just going at it. And then I remember because the lights was off and then the people came in there. So it was some of the best times, man. We had some best times, and then, you know, got to do block parties and stuff like that at McEachern, you know, me and or I don't know where you were at. I wish you were there with us. So me and my homegirl Sean, give shouts out to Sean. She was a little chick, black chick that lived in the Horseshoe Bend. We used to throw like we went to the Ron Anderson's building. Shouts out to them because they would let us to throw parties. The first party we threw, we damn near had like 100 people there. The second party we had through was probably like half of it. But the first one was more of a, okay, we're throwing you a party. We're not going to act up. The second one was more like, man, y'all not drinking or smoking. Y'all not doing that. We're not coming to this. You see what I'm saying? So it was a lot of ups and downs. But Osborne altogether was it was an interesting school, man. Like, it was an interesting way of education, man. Like, it was really wild times then. But I'm so grateful that we had those times because, you know, that was the last epiphany of everybody getting to know people and hanging with people, plus your friends. Because after everybody graduated, when you guys, luckily we still got to hang when, you know, we graduated. But, you know, people in my class, you know, once they gone, you know, they were gone. Unless the people that you were still hanging with, everybody was going off doing their thing. So I'm glad we still got the hung. And then once you went off to the Navy, you know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like, I'm proud of him. He's doing his thing. He's really in the military. He's really trying to make something of his life, man. And, you know, I had some of my best times was in the 90s, man. They used to smoke cigarettes in the bathroom. And Miss Strickland, if you remember Miss Strickland, I know you remember Strickland. Shouts out to Miss Strickland.
There you go. There you go.
Now, hey, man, I love that lady.
Authentic. This is authentic, and I love it, man. Yeah, we love
Miss Strickland.
That's a real
I love
deal.
that lady, man.
We love Miss
That's a real deal, man.
That's a real deal.
Miss Strickland was the real deal. You know what I loved about her?
Ronaldo Jackson would say the same.
Yeah.
He would say the
same. Because, you know, but you know the funny, but you know what I loved about her? What I loved about her even more, she was really one of those teachers. Like, we had class outside. For the classes I was taking, we never had classes outside. And that was really, because I remember going in there I was a teacher's aide, y'all. So basically I was grading papers, you know, sitting in there and learning. I mean, I had my headphones on, and she always told me, Malik, you got to shh, because I was amped. So she was, you know, but we had a time when we went outside and had class. That was amazing, huh?
You were a teacher's aide in my class. I remember.
I was?
In my class, yes. I was in 11th grade. I took Miss Strickland in 11th grade. Yeah. You was in my. Because I was you just gave me a memory of that. You were a teacher's aide in my class. Yeah. Because Miss Strickland taught American literature. Yeah.
American history, American literature. Yep.
American literature, because I love
it. I do remember that.
I did really well in her class. You were the teacher's aide. God dang, you got me messed up, man. I forgot all about
that. You got me messed up because I forgot you were in that class. Because I think you were in that class. I felt like I remember that. I felt like you had that class, but I felt like I was in the same class as you, or you came out and I was coming in. It was something like that. But she was one of the, besides her and Miss Raymer, you remember Justin Raymer's mom? She was a substitute too. So, those were great teachers, man. And for Miss Raymer was almost like Miss Jordan, like Richie and Rob's mom. But because I had her when I was in elementary and I was in, I think, high school. I think she went to Smith too, but I don't know if she taught over there. But so those were the pinnacle teachers that were really amazing. And Miss Strickland was such a great teacher, man. She was just really, even at her age as young, like she was really identifying with the students. And you didn't really have a lot of teachers identifying with the students. And when I came in one day, she's like, "No, we're going outside." We sat outside in the front, Earl, where you drive, where the new stadium is, where Mr. Dye had the new stadium that was right next door. When you see the old gym and everything and going to the trailers in the back, we sat right there, right across where the baseball field, where the church where everybody used to park at. And we sat out there and we had class. And that was such an amazing thing. That was an amazing experience because no other teacher was doing it like that. And I'll never forget that.
Malik's cooking. I'm going to stop Malik right there. He's baking. He's cooking. I'm going to do it again, Malik. You cooking it up.
Yeah, just cooking. Just literally cooking. Those were some of the best times, man. Being with you guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna add in Brian's comments real quick.
Sure,
But that was some good. I know y'all feel the '90s, man. Malik just brought us all there. I'm there right now. I know we all. That's what we do. That's what we need. I love the passion and the grit and the guts. I love it. That's what we need, man. I feel like I'm in 1998 right now because of this brother right here, man.
Yeah.
This dude right here.
I feel like we in the 90s.
I feel it, man.
I feel like every time I talk to you, Earl, I feel like every time I talk to you, dog, we in the 90s again. Like we really a time capsule. And I think
we right back.
I think we had a time capsule thing too.
Let me read Brian's comments. Brian has some
okay, my bad, man.
No worries, man. Brian had the black puffy North Face. Just to let you know, he had one too.
Okay. Shouts out to the North Face.
Man, in high school, for me, when Def Jam dominated music industry, with the YJs, Jeeps bumping some bangers and the brown bags over your textbooks, he's with it. I had the world famous canvas book bag. Yeah, I remember that one. New York got crazy game while out of town ain't the same. Brooklyn get crazy loot cause when there's beef, you ain't scared to shoot. Malik will remember those lines. Okay, Malik.
Shouts out to BK. Shouts out to Brooklyn. Brooklyn style, baby.
No. And
shouts out to BK.
Malik like that. Yeah, he like that. And going back to what Malik was saying, when the CD players came out with that anti-skip, the game was over. It was over. Shut down, all of that. But one more thing I want to add about Osborne, man, in the school. We were there in the 90s. It was very diverse too. We had our group of bad eggs. We had a group of bad eggs in that school, but it did give us a microcosm. I think that's the word of how the world actually is, man. I mean, you had blacks, whites, Mexicans, Asians. You had every ethnic group, man. Europeans coming from overseas to like foreign exchange students. It was really a melting pot. That's one thing that now that I think about it, man. Osborne was a melting pot of people. You had it was a microcosm of the world. So I got to give a shout out to Osborne for that, man. It really was. And Malik killed that subject, man. Got one more section we'll go over here before we have to end the show here. We want to keep everybody in. And again, we're going to be uploading this show after we're done with it, it usually takes a little while. If you didn't catch it on the live with us now, you can always get on it. It will be uploaded. It will be public. It'll be in the live section. It'll be out there. This is Xennials Nostalgia episode 3, and we'll be doing this weekly. And if you like what you see, subscribe to us, man. And we appreciate each and every one of our subscribers, man. So just to add that little side note in, we appreciate it, man. We are very grateful for those coming in to check us out, man. We're just two guys. We're just a couple guys talking, man, and this is fun for us. We enjoy this. This is fun. It's a trip down memory lane, and we like to share it with others, right? So, yeah, we're gonna download it, and it's gonna be for you. Didn't catch it now, you can catch it later on, because like I said, I promise I make it public right away. I'll make it public right away once I download it. I'll make it public, and probably by the end of this evening, it will be available for yourselves to see. So we're gonna have it out here. But in the meantime, we're gonna move on to our fifth and final segment here, which is toxic trends and canceled toys. Toxic trends and canceled toys of the 90s. I won't start it up too much. I'm just gonna have my little take. There's a couple things. You had I'm just gonna bring a couple things up that comes to mind, man. You had the little creepy Furbies and stuff like that. You had the easy bake ovens where kids was burning stuff. That's two of the things I remember that comes to mind with the toxic trends and canceled toys, from back in the day and everything. But I don't know. I think Malik has dug into this probably a little bit more than I have, and he's gonna cook. He's the baker.
Cook it on up.
He's gonna cook some more real quick. So I'm gonna pass it to
Time
him.
to chef it on up. So when we talked about last night, I don't know if it was the same thing, and I meant to ask you. I don't know if it was hitting on what we talked about last night, but I remember those toxic trends, and I remember them canceled toys like for little kids that had those little, like you said, those little ovens where they cook and stuff like that, and they had those little Hot Wheel cars they were driving in. Remember when we were kids, our parents used to buy those little cars. We could just drive all the way around. They were pushing us in. They canceled that. The big wheel one. So, I was kind of upset because for me, that was my childhood when we had stuff like that. Because remember that little big wheel truck? It was that blue truck, that little monster truck that you see them. And they usually had a cartoon. I think it was a big wheel cartoon with a monster, but they had that famous blue monster truck that had what was it, Hot Wheels or something on the side. And I remember when them trucks came out after the monster shows, even before that, we used to have one of those things. We used to ride around and they used to buy us. And I think every kid back in the 80s and 90s had one. And for some reason, it was toxic because they canceled it. I don't understand. That should have been, for the other generations of the 90s, and which it was. But then when I think it got to the 2000s, I don't think you see those too much no more. But I know last night I was talking about Mattel, and I got a fun fact. I've written it down. So Earl, I didn't even tell you. So, when I went to go see Oppenheimer, and when I went to go see that's when Barbie came out, and that was crazy. All them kids, even young boys, was dressed in pink. Everybody, there was more of a line for Barbie than it was for Oppenheimer. You know what I'm saying? Oppenheimer was, if we didn't have Oppenheimer, World War II never would have ended. You know what I'm saying? So, but Barbie, I think the first edition of Barbie was in 1959. Let me see here. I found the founders. Let me see something, and probably should, excuse me, guys. I had that written down somewhere. Okay, so the founder of Mattel is one of the largest and most well-known companies in the world. And they had a list where former brands were Barbie, Hot Wheels, remember Fisher Price, American Girl, Uno, Thomas of Friends, which was Thomas the Train, and which I love. I think all guys love Masters of the Universe, He-Man, and Polly Pocket. So the founder was a Harold Matson, Matt Matson, Elliot Handler, and Ruth Handler. Headquarters in El Segundo, Florida, California. So all the canceled toys back then were gone. Like you only saw them a little more, but like even now to this day, you still see Mattel, Hasbro. You still see all those. You might see a Fisher Price, depending on where you go. You might see a Fisher Price either in a Target or a Walmart or a Mom and Pops, like Crackle Barrel type stuff like that if they have it. So stuff that they did away was, I guess it was good for us because we already had got to that level of moving on to the next step. Like we only did it for so long, and it's like, okay, now it's time for you to go to something else. So like all the toxic stuff then, if I'm answering this right, if I'm saying this right, was I don't think they pushed the envelope a lot more, because I was telling Earl yesterday about Demolition Man, and then maybe Brian can answer this. Brian, what do you think is the most unique, was the most important segment in that movie? You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't know, you might agree with this or not, but it was Taco Bell. Throughout all the action and sex scenes and shooting and blasting and tough guy routine, it was Taco Bell. And the reason why I say Taco Bell, because Taco Bell basically gave us a warning. That's going to be the last restaurant throughout the ages when all restaurants, the fast food restaurants, will the willer, you know what I'm saying, disappear. And it's like that with toys. You still looking at Mattel. Mattel has been around for years. They're not leaving. So I think all the ones that were left, the toxic ones, maybe it wasn't meant because of the age and the era that we were in. I don't know if I'm saying this right. You kind of got me on that one. That was really stumped. I was trying to really study that and really try to get a better perspective of it. But I think with all the toxic trends, I don't think they made it very long. And I think that's what made it toxic, because you would still see some of the brands out today. I think they went as far as they could, and that was it. But but by Mattel and Hasbro, that stuff will never go. Like they're gonna outlast every single, even in our era, in our days growing up, they outlasted every single toy company, you know what I'm saying, that was, because you weren't beating Mattel. Mattel was one of the largest companies in the world, and they're not going anywhere. So I hope that was an answer that, what I'm saying, you guys wanted. And I hope that was an answer that was right, that I gave you, because I just feel like anything that they cancel, I think it was either two things. They weren't trying to expand it, or they were just kind of letting it go. Like, I'm going to sell the company, live off the residual, live off the principles, or they didn't have any more ideas. They wanted to do something different. But I don't think it was, those toys back then were a strong foundation. I think it was a strong foundation for us, and we had it. And then after you and I that got of age, that's when they canceled it, because they feel like that technology was coming out. They're bringing more stuff. We don't need it. But if you have, like I was telling this kid yesterday, man, you got to market your stuff a lot better to put yourself out there. I mean, it's not enough for people to know you. You got to be able to shine and outdo the knowledge of it. You got to be able to be like, every time I turn around, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what this person said, or this is what this person said, or this is what this person said. So all the toys and stuff that got canceled, I don't think it was ever meant to be long lasted. I think stuff that was meant to be long lasted, I think there was a spark on that person's creativity of like, maybe I didn't even know this was gonna last, but I'm just gonna put out something that's gonna last, and it did. But
hold that talking thought
okay.
real quick, man. I'm going to go to the chat real quick. Brian Bates, we didn't have game banging, but we had rumbles against other schools from our last topic there. Understood. That's what's up. Yeah, everybody had rumbles going on. Brian Bates, the Tonka trucks, when they were made of steel, now they are made of plastic. Good point there. I remember the Tonka trucks. I used to love the Tonka trucks when I was little, when I was a young one, man. And shout out to A10. What's up, A10? Hope all's good, baby. A10 Aviation. That's our dog right there. That's our homie. A10's that dude, man.
Shouts
love
out to
A10,
him.
man. Shouts out to him, man. It's one of our dogs right there. One of our road dogs.
Okay.
Love for him. Let's see. Let's see. Taco Bell. Brian Bates. Taco Bell will be around after nuclear fallout. Going
Yeah.
on what you just said, Malik. Yes, and 810 mentioned when I eat Taco Bell, my toilet has nuclear fallout. Oh, that's good. Love
Yeah.
that. Love. But go ahead,
You got to
Malik.
clean your
You
bathroom.
still got some time. Go ahead and cook, man. Go ahead and cook. You good? I wanted to
Okay.
touch up in here real quick. You could go ahead.
No, I think that's important. I think that's important. I'm glad you cut me off for that because I think that's important. I think that's important that we recognize everybody that's in our comments and giving shots out to us and stuff like that. So no, you good. Thanks, Brian. And what was the other guy's name that you
That's
said?
eight.
Thanks to some 88 or something. Give shots
That's
out to him
eight.
too.
That's 810. 810.
810. Okay, shouts out to you, 810. Thank you guys and Brian always for really supporting and being with us. But like I said earlier, I don't know if that was the answer, that was the right equivalent answer that I
I
gave you,
love it.
but
I
I
love
think
it.
a lot of stuff that dwindle out was meant to dwindle out unless it was to be here. Like, look, for Apple, for example, Apple's going to be around before when the fallout comes. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be an Apple. There's always going to be oh, well, let me get this Apple this. Let me outdo this Apple this. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think the toxicness is for people at that time didn't feel like they wanted to keep pushing the envelope, or maybe they thought they could only go as far as they could and they couldn't go anymore. And all the great toys that we had, I kind of figured it was good. I wanted for the other kids coming behind us, and then the kids that were having kids, you know what I'm saying? I wanted them to get to experience all the toys that as us we got the experience for example, for like your kids or like when they were small. I would love the fact that we would have had stuff like that for them so they got to experience it the way we did. And you see your kids, and you be like, you know what? They did the same thing I did, and you have a smile on your face. Because memorable stuff does that, man. Memories are memorable. It passes down to generation to generation. And that's what I would hope that the world would really see, that we're passing things down to generation where it's going to make each generation is going to get better. But the way things are now, man, it's just it's really so secluded, man. It's just everybody's just stepping on each other's necks. Like if you go to Africa and look out the wild, that's us we're looking at. That's us. Them animals that we're trying to fend. Like we like hyenas in the thing, man. Because you go to one try to get food, you got thousands of hyenas coming, just snapping. Like, no, this is mine. This is mine. And that's the way the world is. Like it's like this is mine. No, this is mine. No, this is ours. This isn't mine. This is yours. This is ours. This is God's. God gave us all this. You know what I'm saying? God gave us the intuitivity, if I'm saying that right, to experience. We're here for experience. We're here for exposure. And I know things are gonna dwindle out, you know what I'm saying, because of the time and stuff. But I always thought, like for Tonka trucks, they would have made it a lot better to where you could have it as real trucks, to where you could get. Remember, you could get in before after they push you around. But then they kind of upgraded a couple years after that to where you could drive by yourself, type stuff like that. So I always wanted that stuff. I always wanted the kids to have the same kind of experience, even though we're in different times. But I just always wanted to have the kids to have that same peace experience like we did, because I think that's what they see and our fathers, which would be you know what I'm saying, and our father's face, and they smiling, not just because we're young and stuff like that, because they taking a point in time like, dang, I remember that. I remember my son flipped over just like I flipped over the same way. See, and you could always have those kind of memorabilities. And I think I like that, the toxic trends and canceled toys, because, toys back then, like little G.I. Joes and Army, they canceled all that. Or unless they got them in stores that I don't see. Remember Toys R Us? So now that the spawn on that, Toys R Us was toxic and it was canceled. And I actually worked over it, the one in Kennesaw, before they closed that down. And that was toxic because
I don't mean to stop you. I want you to continue.
no, you're good.
The last Toys R Us I saw was when I was stationed in Hawaii.
Oh wow.
I got there in 2018. They closed that Toys R Us a year later in 2019. That was gone because my kids were like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Yo, that's Toys R Us. These are still around." But that was one of the last Toys R Us stores. But go ahead, brother.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I was gonna ask, like, because because me and Ronaldo worked at Toys R Us,
Mhm.
and after we left Toys R Us, that's when they closed it down, and I never understood, like, why would they close Toys R Us down? Because Toys R Us was like Blockbusters. They were epitome. If you were a kid and
They
you
were.
wanted a specific toy, Toys R Us had it, and if they
They
didn't
had.
have it, they would order it. Video
Yeah.
games, a whole video game plethora of video game selection. You would go to Toys R Us and get video games. You would get toys. They even had bikes. If you needed a bike, they would go to Toys R Us to go get a
Yeah.
bike. I mean, Toys R Us was the epiphany. Well,
Had it
that's
all,
the thing.
bro.
I guess I can answer you on that question. That the toxic trends. Because what was toxic enough for them to close Toys R Us? You know
That's
what I'm
perfect.
saying? Like, what was really toxic for them to close Toys R Us? Because I
Yeah.
remember me and Fernando. So when Toys R Us was out here 20 years ago, we had
Yeah.
Babies R Us, and that's when me and Fee worked at
Baby.
was Babies R Us. Now
Yep. Babies are rough. I remember that.
Babies R Us. Remember Babies R Us? Now, granted, everybody, Babies R Us was a baby store, but it still had the same kind of feeling like Toys R Us because they were our Us. They were made for us. You know what I'm saying? So because they were made for us, they were for us. Now, granted, I didn't need to go to Babies R Us because I'm not married and have any kids. I worked there, but I've
Yeah.
seen, the families that would come in there and, they had that same kind of, it was almost like that same kind of Toys R Us feeling. But when we all went to Toys R Us, and it was actually a good experience, worked there before I got fired. But but I mean, it was like heaven. I mean, you walk in there like the heavens open up, like the light was like, because
Yeah.
you saw everything from top to bottom, beginning to end, back and forth. Like Toys R Us was like Blockbusters to me. I even forgot about that when we did the '90s thing. How
A
even
great.
some of the stores.
That's a great. No, I was just saying that's a great analogy. It's a great analogy. Intertwining Toys R Us and Blockbuster Video. Yeah, it's an awesome analogy right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, for '90s.
Because those were great stores. Those were great stores. Like Toys R Us was really meant for us. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why I like when they say Toys R Us, because it was like what their slogan was. Toys R Us was really meant for us. Now they might have had a different slogan, but you know what I'm saying. It was just. But I think Toys R Us for us because every kid that went in there was like going to a candy store. You know what I'm saying? You going to Toys R Us, it was like going into a candy store. You go to
Yeah,
Blockbuster, it was like going into the candy stores. You know what I mean? And it was just Blockbuster, like everything in the '90s was it. That was the last year before we hit the 21st century of actually learning to live because the 80s complemented the 90s from us starting to live again, even from what 99 years of war. We had war for 99 years from the and that's just the turn of the century. I'm not even talking about from the beginning of time, but for the time of the turn of the century, 99 years, that's a long time for a lot of blood to be shed. You know what I'm saying? So, but in the mix of all that, you still had good, positive feedback and outlife on living life, even though times back then were so horribly, gone wrong. And
yeah,
Blockbusters for us, that was our childhood. Like all the stuff that we can remember, it was just our child. It was the best time of our lives, man. And now that we don't see Blockbuster no more, because like I said, I didn't really do Hollywood Video. I did Redbox when I was hanging with Ronaldo when we would go to the Redbox machine and stuff like that. I never really did Redbox perfectly because I was a Blockbuster man. Like I love the colors. I think the colors showed everything about what Blockbuster really was and who
yeah,
they were. And when Dad told me that Warren Buffett had a piece of that on top of Carnival, I was like, he got Blockbuster. And I was like, man, that's an interesting fact because I never would have thought it. But when Blockbuster went out, Warren Buffett was all right. That didn't hurt him, but I'm pretty sure it kind of hurting him emotionally in some ways because he could remember Blockbuster. Maybe not financially, but I think more in terms of mentally. Because when people go to a Blockbuster night, that was literally its slogan. Hey, what are y'all doing tonight? Oh, we making it a Blockbuster night. And then if you were old enough to have a date, to have your girl, and you driving, and you know what I'm saying, you got your car, got the whip and everything, and you having a basic Friday night, you hanging with your friends and be like, what are you gonna do? Me and my shorty, we're gonna go out to dinner and have a Blockbuster night. Because when they say have a Blockbuster night, that means you were in for the night. Your entertainment
yep,
started there.
yep.
Your entertainment was there.
It was straight up there.
And that's what I love.
No, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I like the cross. And hold on, let's do this thing. What does that mean? Malik cooking.
What does that mean? We cooking it on up.
Yeah.
We cooking and we stepping it on up. And I think it's important. I think it's important for the 90s kids like us and like, you know, everybody else that's out there listening, that's 90s kids, that seeing all the stuff that we're doing, talking about the 90s, bringing back childhood memories, is showing us of who we were and who we still are. We haven't skipped a beat. We're still the same people that we were 40 years ago and just gotten better now, even with all the riffraff and all the life choices and life skills we had to go through. You having a family, me going through what I was going through. You know, we still never lost who we were.
Hold up 1 second. Hold up 1 second. I want that one. I want that right after this, though. No, save it. I'm just saying, save it. I'm gonna run off this real quick. Brian Bates, Malik is definitely cooking. A10, let Malik cook. So the pudding's there. Let's see. I find Brian says I find that a lot of toys that were more geared toward boys were the ones that are gone. He made He-Man, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, like all of them just dropped off the face of the earth. That's true. Yeah. That's a great point there. That's an absolutely great point there, Brian.
Especially Thundercats.
Yeah.
Especially Thundercats. Yeah. Thundercats was where it was at. You made a good point, Brian.
That was a very good point. And
that was a very good point.
They still have a he just said they have a Toys R Us out there in Canada still, man. Yeah, they still
do?
Toys R Us. Yeah, he said the Toys R Us out here. There's also a half Babies R Us out there. A10 double up on it. A10 said when they were in Canada, they went to a Toys R Us. So that's awesome, man. I'd love to see. It just, even as an adult.
I'd love to see that too.
If I see a Toys R Us, it just kind of lightens it brightens your day up, man. Maybe it's just the nostalgia that we had back then. And even as an adult, I was excited when I took my kids to the Toys R Us in Hawaii when we were there in 2018 when they were 6 and 7 years old. I thought that was really cool, and it really made me sad that they closed it down, man. It was like, man, why are you closing this shit down for, man? What? I know it boils down to money and everything, but it is what it is. So
but like, what kind of topic? Well, let me ask you this.
I'm gonna let Malik go ahead and do his thing, man. Malik, I'm gonna let you run with it for a few minutes, man, and kind of get your final points off. You got some time
because I you know. So what I guess what I wanted to ask, I didn't mean to keep cutting you off because I get amped on this. Sorry, guys. I just don't understand like why. I mean, these were like historical, iconic stores. You know what I'm saying? Blockbusters, Toys R Us. I mean, Babies R Us for people that, you know what I'm saying, were around our times going to Babies R Us, you know, like Chuck E. Cheese. Like Chuck E. Cheese is the only one that's still standing throughout all those rest of them other stores. And them stores been around for decades. When we used to go to Chuck E. Cheese, I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. When Brookshire worked over there, Earl, this is for you. When Brookshire worked over there, I worked up the street. I think I worked at Progressive Lighting. Shouts out to the old Progressive Lighting. I got fired from over there, and I tried to go to Chuck E. Cheese to get a job. And Jeff was working on the machines and everything. He had his little office and everything with the tools. And I was like, man, I want to do that. And Jeff was like, put in an application. So I go talk to them, and they were telling me they need somebody to dress up as the mouse. So I was like, all right. And Jeff told me that. He's like, well, if you dress up as the mouse, you'll get the job. Sure enough, I'm dressing up as this mouse, dancing around for kids. They all happy and go-getter and everything. The next thing I know is I go take off the mask outfit and everything. I was like, so what's good? Did I get the job? Nah, you got a free piece of pizza, though. Like, a piece of pizza? Excuse me for saying this out loud. Fuck you mean a piece of pizza with 4 pepperonis on there? And I'm sitting there thinking like, I thought they were going to give me the job. Nah, they weren't hiring, man, but we just needed somebody to dress up as a mouse. I'm like, man, you got me all the way twisted. So I was happy to do it for the kids, and I was happy to do it to get a job. But then when I left, I was like, I had to let my pride, because I was like, y'all just told me I would get the job. And you know, Jeff, man, Jeff always starts to have it funny. He starts to laugh. He always has a sense of humor when stuff like
Yeah.
that happens. And I'm like, okay, that didn't make no sense. But, you know, like, but stores like that, man, you know, those are iconic. And it's like, it really, I was glad that when me and Ronaldo worked over at Toys R Us, it was still there for that last time. But why it went out of business, I don't know. Like, these guys were making millions of dollars for decades. Toys R Us has been out probably since what, the 80s? Maybe 70s, 80s, maybe like that. So
Yeah.
for the first 20 years before it hit the 40th years, Toys R Us was booming in every generation. And
Yeah.
like you said yourself, I like the way you said it. Even when you took your kids, you saw the Toys R Us sign, and you internally, personally had it to where you had a smile, because when you saw your kids running around in the store, it took you back to, that's the same thing I did when mom and
Yeah.
dad took me, Mikos, and you know what I'm saying, TR into the store, you know what I'm saying, to go look at things, you know what I mean, to go actually run around, and you go crazy. We got money, you go crazy. So it was kind of the same situation with you when you saw your kids, you guys go crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys can get whatever you want. And it just reminds you of the times that your parents did that with you. And so, you know, that's why I wish I could have had kids in a way where I could see my kids' face that had the same kind of face that I had when I went there. So I think those
Yeah.
type of stores are memorable stores. They should have never closed down. You said the money situation. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it was the recession. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the 2008 recession messed everything up, because if you notice,
Yeah.
if we had it since we had the 2008 recession, that's when COVID came. Now, how
Yeah.
did COVID just come out of nowhere after we had the 2008 recession? You see what I'm saying? So that's where everything messed it up. And I don't know why Toys R Us went out of business. Toys R Us was a great toy store, man. Like, that was, you know, Toys R Us and Blockbuster, like, those were our livelihoods. Those were our go-to
But
places. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? If we couldn't go anywhere else, if we couldn't go anywhere else in the world, those were our go-to places to be able to experience, to have the enjoyment, the exposure. Like, we used to jump up, like, Mom, can we get this? Yeah, get whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, that type of feeling. Go pick out 2 or 3 movies. Go to because remember, Blockbuster, you had the action aisle, the drama aisle, the horror aisle. You know, you would
All
go
of
to
those.
each. You wouldn't go to the same aisles to get the same movies. You would go to different aisles to get the other
Yeah.
movies that'll come out to be like 3 or 4 movies from
That's
different
right.
aisles. I mean, I miss those days. So when I saw the Netflix special, the last Blockbuster, that really broke me up, man, because I'm like, man, because all the experiences that people were telling in that documentary, like Blockbuster, it brought back to what we're talking about now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And actually, I'm glad, I'm grateful, and I'm so blessed that we're able to do this show, and we have our own show with this, and people are tuning in, because I think people need to see and feel our childhood years, and I want them to have that same kind of expression from what their
Yeah.
childhood years and stuff like that. So, but that's all I
Well,
got, man. That's
well,
really all I
hey,
got, man.
A10 said, let Malik cook with some fireballs. Yeah.
Okay, if y'all need some
Yeah.
fireballs, I'll give y'all fireballs. Dragon Ball Z. When I was in high school, I saw this kid. Actually, saw him a couple years ago, and I was like, "Hey, I remember he had dreads now." And I was like, "That's the kid that put me on Dragon Ball Z," because I never watched Dragon Ball Z like that. But when I watched it, it was amazing. And I think the last thing I saw was when Goku and Vegeta.
Uh-oh. Malik there. We are rolling still. Malik. We lost him for a second. Give him a second here. Oh, not sure if his phone might have went. Oh, didn't go there. He might have died. Oh shoot. Oh no. Ah, I'm not sure. He might he's on his phone. I don't know if he might have we've gone for a couple hours. He might yeah. Looks yeah. It's his phone went out. I'm sorry, that sucks. And so we were about to roll with yeah. So all right. Yeah, his phone, that sucks. He was cooking too, man. He was cooking yeah, I think his phone just died, ladies and gentlemen. So Malik Hendrix put up his yeah, it sucks. That sucks, man. Malik, I'll speak for Malik a little bit real quick. As far as he's just starting out his YouTube page. It's in its baby stages. He's doing a lot of shorts. Let's try to get him up on here. He's got a lot to say. But this is his YouTube. That's his handle at Malik Hendrix. So it's pretty simple. He's like I said, he's getting started. He's gonna start doing producing some lives and stuff as well for his whole thing, man. So that's gonna be dope. He's gonna be good, man. He was cooking it up. Yeah, Brian A10. Yeah, he was. I talked him into coming out here and doing this, man. He was a little bit shy at first, man, but once he gets comfortable, man, he's good. He's good. I'm just glad he's just letting his talents run and just do it, man. Just get on here and cook up the buffet, as Brian said, man. Fucking do his thing. So it's cool. He's real passionate, man. And I've known this guy. I've known him for about 25 years, man. How old am I now? No, I've known him about 30 years. Hell, I'm gonna be 45 this year. So yeah, I've known him since high school. And I've been out of high school. I graduated I'm the class of 99. So yeah, it's real fun to go back in the memory lane, man, and try to juice up some topics, man. So it's awesome. It's awesome. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this show. This was fun. This is Xennials Nostalgia, episode 3. Guest host Malik Hendrix, cooking an entire 5-star meal, like A10 said. Man, he was killing it, man. I'm gonna get a hold of him once his phone gets up, man. And we're definitely gonna do this again. Definitely gonna do this again. Love having him on here. He kills it. He kills that. He kills it out here, man. And I love his passion. And he's a mainstay on here, man. So that's freaking awesome. Love to hear. But go ahead and I'm gonna have to go eat me some lunch now. It's noon here, Eastern time zone. That was a fun show, man. That was a blast. Brian, A10, appreciate you guys coming rolling through. You guys are the truth. Much love to y'all, man. Much love to y'all. Yeah, as for myself, I'm probably gonna do a little gig tubing tomorrow, doing a little DoorDash, turning on the app, doing some chatting, and I'm gonna get up with Malik and I'm gonna see we're gonna keep him in tune with you guys, and we'll let you know what he's doing. But anyways, man, appreciate it. Thanks for showing up, Brian and A10. Shout out to y'all again, man. Love y'all, man. Y'all are the real ones. Y'all are the real ones, man. Until next time, I'm gonna be hollering at y'all. Y'all take it easy.